Hello, welcome back to Healing with Ben. My name is Ben, obviously. I'm just about to sit down with John, the tired dad. I love John's videos and I think you'll really enjoy. And I say this a lot, but I think you'll really enjoy this episode too. Thank you so much for being here. John, tired dad, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I
No,
appreciate
this
it.
is This is an honor. I noticed before we jump in, I noticed that you're writing a book. So how's that going? If it's anything like your content, it will be fantastic, and I can't wait to read it. I love your content, and I feel like people who are watching my videos, I don't want to repeat the same thing, but I love your content. I'm not just saying this. I love everything you do. How's the book writing process going?
It's going really well. It's actually finished now.
Nice.
And we're just in what they call the copy edit process. So it's just basically like one more edit. It's mostly like grammar, punctuation, um, and it's just like looking over that one more time, and then it's off to print and just finalizing a book cover, and then it will just kind of be a waiting period for a handful of months. It's a long process. I've been doing it over a year now, this process, but and then we start discussing the marketing strategy and everything. Its official release will be early next year, kind of setting up for Father's Day because it is a father's book. And to answer your question, it is like my content. It's basically everything that I've shown in videos, written about on my captions and posts and everything, wrapped up into a little book that you can consume daily, monthly, weekly, read it over, and just everything. So it's like kind of a very, as much as I can put into a, without it being too long of a book, it's an easy digest. I want it to be easily digestible, but it's basically everything thus far in my parenting journey. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to put it out into the world.
hmm I'm excited for you. I'm excited myself to read it. I find that when I start writing, for like I'll get an idea in my head, and I think I have ADHD, but I'll get an idea in my head, and then for the next 5 hours, I'm like Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty. And then I hit a wall, and I realize I've only written one paragraph. But I love the process of getting it out of here and down because you connect more dots as you do so. Tired dad itself. It's difficult to say in my accent because I want to say tired and then tired dad instead of tired. But I love caffeine, right? I think I've had this unhealthy friendship with energy drinks since I was a young teenager. They were always just in the house. And then I have kids and they are my go to. I don't like coffee. So I'll drink tea. And I don't drink energy drinks now, so I'll drink tea and then throughout the day I will force myself to like throw back a coffee. So I can assume, I'd like to think, where Tired Dad comes from, but can you tell me how you started this, where you had the ideas and the name?
Yeah, so I remember the moment I started on TikTok in 2020, and back then it was all about humor, right? It was all funny, feel good. Obviously, the world was doing what the unpredictability of the world was happening, and we didn't know what was happening, if it was the end of the world. So I think TikTok was a place that we could kind of all come together and just laugh, and it wasn't a serious place, and it was fun, and we were at home and stuff. My son was just born right before the pandemic, and so he was a newborn, and we weren't sleeping worth nothing. And it was just kind of that phase of parenting with no sleep. And I remember on TikTok, it was my name. Like everybody just had their name. And I'm like, what is my name? Like, no one, I'm not a celebrity. No one's going to know my name. And it doesn't explain my content, nothing, you know? And I was doing parenting humor at the time, like just about exhaustion. And I'm like, well, what about the tire dad? Not much thought into it. And right when I changed my name, I got a lot of, everybody thought it was funny. Everybody thought it was great. And they're like, oh, the tired dad, that's so funny. Yay. I'm a tired mom and all that. And then over time, I started to get more serious with my content. And when uh, the birth of Reels on Instagram, it was a different, it was a different audience, and I started tapping into more of the deeper stuff because the humor was funny, but everybody was doing it. So I wanted to go kind of a different direction. And I had a lot of stuff inside me, that I was writing and journaling at the time during the pandemic about fatherhood and this new journey of mine, and also the past 3 years of my daughter being born, and just this new era of fatherhood, and then also like being a millennial myself, having gone through so many um crisis, in the world. A lot of crazy stuff has happened since I was born, and now the pandemic being another one, and it's just like a scary world. And now I got these two children in this world, and I'm like, there's a lot on my mind. So I started doing more videos on the deeper aspects of parenting, like not just humor, but my reflections of being a father. And it started resonating a lot with parents in general, but really the dads, because the dads didn't have words for what they were feeling. And as men, as dads, we don't talk. A lot of us don't talk, and we just kind of keep it to ourselves. We think that no one else relates. And what my content putting it out there, it made dads feel less alone. And then I saw more dad pages kind of expressing their thoughts and their deep reflections. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool thing that's happening on social media with these dads speaking up. And so the tired dad, it was started out as funny, and then it's like, well, we're kind of tired because we're putting so much effort in to this. This is like a really important job to us. We're really taking this serious. So it took on a new meaning. It's like we're tired from parenting, not of parenting. It's like a lot of people think, oh, the tired dad, that's funny. You're like tired of your kids. Like you want to break. It's like, no, I don't want to break. It's just I'm tired because I can't get a break and I love it. So it's that whole conundrum of I'm so exhausted. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. But I've never felt this kind of love before. And it's the greatest joy I've ever experienced. So it's that conundrum of like, what? Like, this is all, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. So, that's how it became the tired dad into what it is today.
Nice. I love that. I find that, and I'll assume you'll agree, when I create videos, especially at the start, it helped me connect a lot more dots in my own life. Helped me figure out a lot more for me. I guess I was journaling through my videos. At the start, I think I started, it's been 2.5 years. My math's not the best. My kids are around the same age. My second child was a newborn, and my daughter, I think she had just turned 2, and we're now expecting our fourth. It's chaotic, but I started my videos about parenting. Like, here are some parenting tips I've found. Here's what's helped me, and then I was like, here's something I went through as a child unintentionally, and people were like, oh shit, me too. So I think that's how. And it's strange to say, and it's not egotistical, but how our followings have rocketed because we say things that other people think but don't say. Parenting is chaotic, right? It's the most rewarding thing, but it challenges you. So for the days, do you have any advice for the days where we are overstimulated, we are stressed, we are stuck in burnout, but we still have to show up? What does that look like for you?
It looks like you still got, like you said, you still got to show up. There's no, like for us personally, I relate, and a lot of other people relate to this. We don't have any family nearby, so we have a babysitter, but we don't have a like a full time nanny or anything. So the babysitter comes a couple times a week, but at like during the pandemic, it was. I mean, a lot of people relate to that. It was only us four, and in general, we don't have any family nearby, so it's all on us. So it's been hard, and I I feel like, I want to give advice. I want to give whatever you would call the politically correct advice or whatever, saying you need to step back, you need to take a break, you need to like ground yourself and take some time for you. Well, that's not realistic for a lot of people. Like it's not for us. So you just have to attack it head on. And there are days you mess up and you yell at your kids because of that overstimulation. And it's not the greatest thing. I would love to take a break. I would love to go, hey, I'm gonna take 2 hours away from my kids right now. I can't, you know? And it's that whole, well, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's like, well, what if there's no choice? I have to. So that's the whole like keep showing up. We have to. We just have to do it. And it's not realistic for everybody to take that time for themselves. And I have an amazing wife and we have been through our stuff and we figured it out and we are in such a good place now and we work as a team now. And we had to learn from our mistakes and our failures. So a lot of that is just learning from your mistakes and failures, but the intention's there. I want to be a good dad. She wants to be a good mom. We're going to figure it out. Are we perfect? No. Is anybody? Does that even exist? Perfect parenting? No, it doesn't. Is anybody an expert? I don't know. Everybody's situation is different. Every kid is different. Every kid needs something different. It's not one way is not going to work. But what I think we can all agree on is to have a good intention, to not there are some things that you should not do in parenting. It's pretty obvious, abuse and all that. But, are we gonna be in the greatest mood every day? Are we gonna never be overstimulated by our kids, never snap at them, never do this? No, it's probably not realistic to think that's never going to happen. But what can always happen is apologies, self-reflection, showing up better the next day, and just keep going. So some days, yeah, I do have to pour from an empty cup. Some days I am like almost mental breakdown, but my kids still need me. They don't care. They don't care about the stress that I have at work. They don't care about what's going on in the world. They don't even know what's going on in the world. They just want my love. They want my presence. That's it. So I have to show up for them. And that's it. There's no like really clear answer. Everybody tries to give like this clear answer. I'm like, yeah, but that's not realistic. I would love for that world to exist for me, but it doesn't. So I have to just show up no matter what.
Mhm. I think accountability is key, but you are 100% right. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. I think we just expect too much of ourselves. Like if we never got angry or we never snapped at our kids, they would grow up and start feeling anger and be very confused because they never saw it on us. So I think, and kids, especially when they're young, so I've got a 4 year old, almost 3 year old, and a 1 year old currently, and they are like sponges. So if I snap, if I shout, if I raise my voice, and then I apologize and I let them know that it's my fault, that I've got shit going on up here, they learn very quickly. And the next time I'm frustrated when they are just being kids, they can see that it's on me. You said about presents, and that's all they want. I think it was yesterday, my 4 year old went into a wardrobe and she had like Hedwig Harry Potter pajamas. And she was like, Dad, can we watch Harry Potter and close the curtains? That was like her dream fucking day. And all she wanted me to do was sit next to her on the sofa. So sometimes it's about presence. But in this day and age, especially with phones, and this is our job to do this, so it's very difficult to get away from them sometimes. Sometimes I have to force myself to leave my phone upstairs in the morning, or after I finish work, I finish with clients here, I'll leave my phone here and then go downstairs because I know I will sit on it. Especially with my audience, a lot of people grow up with parents who were, if they were present, they weren't present. What does that look like for you, presence with your kids?
Oh yeah, it's the simple things. I think any parent can take their kids on a 2 week vacation. Any parent can, make the birthday special. They can make Christmas special, Christmas morning special. You 6 times a year, you can make these big events and vacations and everything. but that's a very small amount of time in the year, right? So it's those little things. It's the movie night. It's letting them build a fort and having a movie, like letting them stay up an hour later is like, that's my daughter. My daughter's 8. That's her love language. Like if you can, she's a night owl. Like she sleeps. We call her our teenage daughter already. She'll sleep until 8 or 9 during the summer, especially. She can't during the school year, but and she would, I swear she would stay up till 3, 4 a.m. every night. She's a night owl. So if we let her, it would put our son down because he gets very tired. He's only 5. And if we can connect with her at night like that, it just means everything to her. And with my son, we try to have that one-on-one time with both of our kids, um, and it means so much to them. And just those little things, taking her out to ice cream, taking her on a date, taking my son out, um, to go get a monster truck, taking him out to go to get a cake pop, you know, it means everything to them. And those little moments I try to have as much as possible, and just sitting with them and talking with them, having conversations before bed, reading them a book, reading with them, all those things is presence. And speaking about accountability, I have trained my kids to call me out. So I have my 8-year-old, especially, and my son's starting to do it now. They'll call me out if I'm on my phone and not listening to them. And I'll stop and I'll look them in the eyes and say, "You're right." And or if I get snappy or something, my daughter will straight up tell me, "Geez, Dad, you're in a bad mood today, or you must be stressed out." And I'm like, and then I can have that conversation, that vulnerable conversation with her and say, "You know what, honey, I am." She doesn't need to know why I'm stressed out. She doesn't need to worry about all that, but I can come down to her level and say, "Hey, you know what? You've recognized that, and it's totally true. And Daddy just needs to, gather his thoughts and do some tasks, and he'll be less stressed out. And you know what? We'll go. How about we go get ice cream later? And then, so that communication's everything. I think growing up, I know you talk a lot about childhood trauma and the generational stuff. Growing up, that's not the house I was raised in. It was very much so, you're the child, these are adults, you know. Children are supposed to be what's that phrase? Like
Being
children are,
not here.
yep. Um Kind of that feeling, and man, my children are heard for sure. They're able to talk, express their thoughts, and we just, it's just that's the most beautiful part about parenting, is watching them grow into their own people, instead of telling them how to think and telling them what to think. It's like I love to just get their perspective on the world and everything, and their, people and life, and just the awe and wonder of everything. I learned so much from that, because as we get older, we lose that. We're so focused on these systematic approaches to life rather than the awe and wonder. Like, geez, look up in the sky and just let's talk about it. Let's look at, oh man, look at that tree just blowing in the wind. Let's talk about it. We lose that and it's a shame, because these systematic things in life are meaningless in the end. And it's just, my children ground me so much into, protect, getting back that inner child too. Man, like, just during Halloween and these holidays, I love those moments, but also just that excitement to go get ice cream on a summer afternoon or night, staying up late, watching a movie, building a fort, creative play, all that stuff is just, it brings out my inner child, and then I get to watch it through them happening. And it's just, that's like the best part.
Mhm. It's the best part, but I hope you are really fucking proud of yourself because that's all you're doing. That's all, like, not all you're doing, that's all on you. Like, that's, how the fuck do I word that? This is
Yeah.
you. This is what you've done. I hope you're really proud of
Yeah.
yourself. I don't want to, I'm proud of you, of course. I don't want to sound condescending, but I think you should be really proud of yourself because you're saying that this is the joy in parenting and this is, and looking up at the wonder. And we homeschool our kids. So we're the exact same. We look up at the sky and we question. But that's
Yeah.
all you. That's what you have created for yourself. So good for you. Um,
Yeah.
you said about not one size fits all, and going back to homeschooling, sometimes, so I see people talk about screen time and things like this. I'm like,
Mhm.
fuck, my kids watch more screen time than I would like them to. But then I'm like, they're not in fucking school. They're with us all day in the house. One size doesn't fit all. Um,
Mhm.
Again, I get so much I want to unpack, and I've probably forgot it all. Your daughter sounds like my daughter, and your son sounds like my oldest son. You take him to go and get a monster truck, and she just wants to stay in bed in the morning and stay up late at night. I was born. You said about childhood. I was born in 1995, so if any sign of emotions coming out, I was told to man up.
Mhm.
Especially with growing up with a single parent, it was you are the man of the house, and you need to man up. Is there any advice you can give on how to parent differently so our kids are authentic instead of being shut down?
Oh yeah, it's just, I mean, what I was saying about that open communication, not shutting them down when they speak a thought that you're like, oh no, honey, that's not how it is, or that's not how it works. It's like also in their brains, they don't understand judgment of others yet, you know? Like that's where the innocence of a kid gets killed, is that we promote judgment of others to children way too early, and we involve them in adult like thinking that they don't understand, you know? So that childhood innocence, that's where I'm like, oh, I just want to just my kids, just be yourselves. Don't be influenced by other people, you know? Like be unapologetically yourself. And that's where I feel growing up in that generation, it was frowned upon to be different, right?
Mhm.
Or outside of the norm, or that doesn't align with this, or whatever. And then uh, you know, religion can play a big role in that square thinking of like this is how we have to think. And it's like, well, what about this? And it's like, no, you can't think like that, you know? And you know, I and as far as the man up, like with my son, the man up stuff and being the man of the house, I think we put too much responsibility on them at too young of an age, you know? They let them be kids. Don't rush to grow up. Like why do you want your kids to grow up so fast? Like, oh, you're a boy, you're a man, you need to be this way. We don't care about your feelings, everything. My son is a lover. He's just a lover, and I love that about him. And when he was born, I kind of had that mentality a little bit of, okay, this is I had a daughter, she softened me for sure. And then now I have a son and I want him to be, let's go, tough and all that. And then I pulled back, I go, but I love him gently, just like I love my daughter gently. Like he's a precious boy, right? And I'm like, this doesn't feel natural to me. Like I want him to be expressive. I want him to cry, to be emotional, like whatever he is, you know? And that kind of healed me, because I wasn't allowed to be like that. So, my wife, I'm lucky that my wife has brought so much of that out in me, because I was like a stone when we first met. And I became more, she's super expressive. So she's allowed me to be that way. And I think it's unfortunate too. I think that also, just to say that not all women are like that. Some women fall into, they don't like men to express themselves, and they're scared of that. And that's their own issue, that's an issue because they grew up with a dad that was like that, right? So they're not used to men expressing themselves. So when a man expresses themselves, they're like, whoa, hey, not attractive, I don't like this, and stuff like that. So that's a big reason why men don't express themselves. Their fear of like turning their partner off,
Mhm.
and so I'm just uh, their mom is not like that, and I'm not like that. So that's the environment I want to raise my children in. I encourage them to express themselves. And when they do express themselves, eyes locked on them. They need to know that I'm listening, and absorbing that. And I don't always need to talk about it. A lot of the times I write it in my note or I record them on a voice memo because I'm like, I want to remember that they've said this. It's
Mhm.
beautiful.
If you want to ever adopt a 29-year-old Welsh bloke, just fucking
Let me
let me
know.
know. I think it's easy when we're kids to it's safe to listen to our parents when we are told man up or you don't cry over this or whatever it may be. We listen. So if I was told you're the man of the house in my early, I think I was 20 when I came home and said I want to start injecting steroids, and I was told yeah, no problem, I'll do it for you, and I was like, oh, you're such a supportive parent, thanks. So I was like, I would buy a fast car to impress other people. I would take steroids to look more manly. Now I'm 30 in like 2 weeks, and I feel like me when I'm building Lego. I just built this Harry Potter tower. I fucking the happiest you'll be as an adult is when you feel like a child. So if you're able to
Yes.
combine that with your kids too, and to bring it out of them, if I go and buy Lego now, I take my kids, and my son just had this like Hulk monster truck. He's like Hulk obsessed, and I know and I knew that it will end up in pieces on the floor within fucking 2 days, but it's not about that. So completely agree. So your content, I think you have so much different takes to give in every single video that you do. So maybe this is impossible to answer, but what is the one thing that you hope other parents will learn from your videos and from you?
Um, to the one thing, yeah, that is hard. I mean, overall, to, I mean, to be, I guess, to be the parent that our kids deserve, So, um, just there's so much that goes into it. Allowing our kids to be themselves. Uh, just embracing their talents and their interests and everything, even if they don't align with your interests or even your thoughts. There's a saying, it's like, I want my kids to question everything, even me, and I love that. I want them to just explore life and not to be held into any box. I was born 10 years before you. And so I really grew up in the 90s, and I loved and I immediately took to all the punk music and the the 90s grunge music, um because it was like a middle finger to everybody that thought in a box. It was, we're going to be unapologetically ourselves, and actually we love that you hate it. And it's like that rebellious nature. I just loved it because I wanted to be myself. So I'm wanting my kids to be themselves without having to be rebellious about it, right? um it's just that's going to be normal for them to be themselves and to not care what other people think. So I think the one thing I want, i I just want, the number one thing I want from for people to take from my content is to make sure that they're also being honest with themselves and healing themselves so they can be the best version to their children. Because if we're not well, and I've been there, it's not going our kids are gonna suffer through that. Our unresolved stuff. Our kids are gonna suffer through that. I always say that children, once they're born, once you have kids, it puts a mirror up to all the unhealed parts of your life. So you're looking into that mirror and you're going, I have a drinking problem. I have an anger problem. I have a lustful problem, whatever it is, right? All these things come up and you're like, and if I don't work on these things, they're not going to get better because those things, those addictions don't get better over time. They get worse. And as my kids get older, they're going to see them and they're going to suffer through all that. And plus, I'm just not going to be able to provide for them the way emotionally the way they need. So to really be honest with yourself and what do you need to work on and not to bottle it up. As men, we bottle it up. I'll brush that off. I don't need to work on that. I've managed it for the last 20 years. I can manage it for the next 20. No, you can't because it's gonna get worse. Eventually, it's gonna break, right? It's gonna explode. It's like the gas inside of a bottle, right? It you don't think it's there until it explodes, right? So heal yourself to be fully healed. I think that's a lifelong process. I think we're always going to have something. We're not perfect, but the things that really need work, like for me, it was 100% drinking, right? It was 100% that alcohol. I never had a good relationship with it. I lied to myself since I was 15 years old that I could manage it. Well, now I was 35, 36 years old going, well, this hasn't gotten better at all. And my daughter's going to get older. She's 3 years old right now, but eventually she's going to be 16. And if I keep going down this road, am I going to be the freaking loser dad that's on the couch drunk every freaking night? Biggest fear was thinking that because there is a point where it's not a choice anymore. It's not about discipline. It's not a choice. It's taken over your brain and life, and you can't stop. So I knew I needed to fix that. And I knew me and my wife weren't communicating well, and we were becoming disconnected. And I didn't want, we come from a line of divorce, like line of divorce, and me and my wife didn't want that for our children, you know? So we had to work on our marriage and we had to I had to be honest with my ego and kill that. And just like you, I did steroids when I was in my early 20s too, because I was a skinny kid. I was 125 pounds in high school. I got not bullied, but the bigger kids could definitely beat me up and I had no defense mechanism. So I felt not like I didn't feel like a man. So what do? Overcompensate like with everything. Oh, I'm a shy kid. Overcompensate with drinking so I can be social at parties and drugs. Um, I'm a skinny kid. What do? Overcompensate. I want to be a meathead. I want to be roided out. And it was that overcompensation. I go, why do I need to overcompensate? Oh, because I need to work on this part of myself. So I'm gonna be 40 in a month or so. And, just like you, it's like, okay, I'm starting to figure this out now. And some people figure it out at 30, some people figure it out at 40, some people never figure it out. So I just want to speak to the younger generation and the younger fathers coming up and even the current fathers of my age. You know, this is learn from my mistakes and ego is not your friend. And this stupid crap we see on social media, what do they call it? Like the red pill or whatever. These boys that think what a man is somebody who treats women like crap, and women are basically our servants, and we need to be these monsters and aggressive and on steroids and all this stuff, and like, nah, that's not a man. That's a little boy. That's a little boy that hasn't dealt with his stuff yet. And, a real man shows up for his family. He treats women with respect. He treats everybody with respect. And he doesn't need to fight anybody. Like, he doesn't, how do you treat others is what a man is, anybody can be aggressive. That comes naturally for us. I can punch a hole through a wall, not control my anger. How is that strength? How about you control your anger? That's strength, How
Mhm.
about you work on yourself? That's real strength.
Not many people do. Some of my clients are in their 70s and they're just starting to think, oh, fuck, there is more to life than. I wrote a book years ago called Fuck Your Ego, because that's how we all live, especially if we grow up with parents who are perception first and they care more about how the family looks and how it is. We grow up valuing other people's opinions of us more than we listen to our own. What I will say though is the life you have now is surrounded by love because of you. So what I tell myself is every mistake that I've made has led to what I have now, every single one. So if related to that, if you could have a short conversation with 10-year-old you, what would you say?
Mm. Um, that's a hard one. 10-year-old me. I mean, not to be that that you're enough, you know, um, that you're good enough. You're you're unique in your own way, and that you don't need to change yourself to be accepted.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Nice answer. I think sometimes we have to, when we feel like we're not good enough, we have to question good enough for who? Because sometimes
Yeah.
it's that voice in our head that doesn't belong to us, that was given to us. What is, so last question for you, John, if you don't mind. What is a truth that you live by today that you didn't believe in 5 years ago?
A truth that well, that I would definitely say that um how do I word this? I guess that vulnerability is strength. That um yeah, I would definitely say, 5 years ago I was still coming off of that mentality of I'm a man and I deserve to be respected and all that. And it's just falling flat to who I really was inside. It was like this belief that I had, but it wasn't me, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, Um, and my wife says that too, when, we've been together almost 13 years. And she said, when I met you, you were such a nice, gentle person. I could tell. And then, there were little periods of time when she knew that I was putting on a facade of something that I thought I had to be, but I wasn't. It wasn't me. And she's like, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. You didn't like want to get out of that situation. Like that, this guy doesn't even know who he is. And she just says no because I knew that you just needed to go through it and learn because I knew you were such a ref, deeply reflective person that you were always thinking about things and who you were, that you would just figure it out. And it not that it was terrible or anything. I was an unbearable human to be with, her husband. It was it was fine. It's just also she had stuff she was working through too. It's just you growing up. We got married when we were she was 25, 26. I was 28. So, I wasn't fully healed, not even close. I didn't know who I was. I didn't there was so much stuff, I started dabbling in drugs and alcohol when I was 13, and it really didn't let up until, there was times when it was more and less, but really hard until like 23, 24 years old. And then it kind of teetered off, and then uh got sober from drugs then in my mid 20s, and then the alcohol and stuff got worse into my 30s. It became casual again. And then what am I doing? So all that time, think of the development of a 13-year-old to, let's just say, 28 years old, the development that happens there. I was not sober during that time, that over a decade, right? As a very confusing way to grow up, and really a confusing way to, you've numbed yourself for so long, and you were supposed to go through all these hormonal changes and all these developments and grow and mature as a man, and you numbed everything. So anytime a problem came up, a stress, anything, it was substances to numb it and to just get through it. So when I got sober, even in my mid 30s, it was like all that came rushing in, and I was like, oh my God, it was overwhelming. So, it's been a journey, and I've made it hard on myself, but gosh, I've learned just so much about myself, and you grow up. And speaking to you, you're so young, and to the young men, like, it's enjoy the journey, and there's so much more to learn, and there's so much more you're going to learn about yourself. And don't try to figure it all out right now. Like, enjoy the process of learning about it. Continue to work on yourself. You're way ahead of where I was, but just the 30s have been the best decade. There's been ups and downs, but 30s, I found more about myself than ever before. My 20s was not that enjoyable because I just made a lot of mistakes, and it became not so, it wasn't that much fun, and it was stressful of not knowing who I was or what I wanted to do. But my 30s started to figure it out, and now that I'm in my late 30s, I'm like, this is so much better. Getting older, it's crazy, but um so much better. So just enjoy that. There's so much that's gonna be just so amazing.
I'm looking forward to turning 30. My wife, so me and my wife have the same birthday, but 3 years apart. So I'll be turning 30 and she'll be turning 27. She's like, "Oh, you're turning 30," and I feel fucking great. I feel like I finally look and feel like me. Um, Everything you said today has been powerful, and thank you for sharing. Where can people find you? And I'm assuming when I posted a video in the Tired Dad T-shirt, I posted a photo and I had a lot of DMs saying this is the collaboration I've needed. So I assume a lot of my followers will be following you anyway. But where can people find you? Where can they find out more about you and what you have to offer?
Yeah, the Tired Dad. I mean, if you Google it, it will come up. But the Tired Dad on all social platforms. Obviously, I'm very active on Instagram, the Tired Dad, TikTok, the Tired Dad. It's like the dot tired dot dad, but if you just the Tired Dad, it should come up. Um, Facebook, the Tired Dad, YouTube, the Tired Dad. Um, Substack. I got a Substack I've been writing on, giving you kind of a preview of my book and my thoughts there. It's reflections of modern parenthood is the Substack, and but the Tired Dad as well. Um, thetireddad.com is for all the merch, where you got the shirt and the hats. Um, And oh yeah, and the podcast. I have a podcast, the Tired Dad and Tired Mom podcast, on all streaming platforms, that I do with my wife, and we discuss a lot of marriage stuff and our journey and a lot of the stuff I mentioned today. So yeah, I'm on a lot of places. Jeez, I didn't even know I was on that many places. I was like, no wonder I'm tired. I got a
I
lot
was
going on. I'm
I was
like,
gonna
it's so
say.
overwhelming. There's always new platforms, and then I start to beat my, and that's where I have to like because I'm an addict. So I'm sober. However, I can have those addict tendencies with even stuff that's good for me or career stuff. It's like I'm way too, like, I will drive myself into the ground with stuff. And the environment of social media and these platforms are endless. They're infinite, right? You can never do too much. I mean, obviously you can, but to these platforms you can't. And I'll beat myself up. Oh man, I haven't posted a Substack in a while, you know? And oh man, I need to post a video. Oh, I need to do like a good video. I need to do this. And you're just driving yourself crazy. And then, that obviously trickles down into family life. So I have to really reel myself back and keep that perspective and be like, hey, John, you're doing enough. You're doing a good job. I had to do these affirmations of like, because in today's world, it's very easy to feel like you're doing nothing when you're doing everything,
Hmm.
you know. So I have to stay grounded with that.
Hmm. I feel like if I don't post a video every day, I will disappear off the face of the earth, and my next video will just be like 0 views, no clients ever again. Thank you
Yeah, I
so
know.
much for. Go on. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm saying, yeah, it's easy to think like that, and unfortunately, these platforms definitely make you feel like that. And then there's some lunatic out there posting 10 videos a day, and they're growing faster than you, and you're like, oh my gosh, and that comparison is the thief of joy. So, but man, your content is great, and we should do something as a real collab on social media. It would
Yeah.
be we could come up with something. We can talk
Yeah.
about that later. But
Definitely.
yeah, just man, you're so far from where I was at your age. So you're doing a great job as well. And so you should pat
Thank you
yourself
so
on
much.
the back for that, man.
Thank you. Thank you for your time as well.